Good evening. This evening we're going to talk about Massachusetts Veterans Benefits. I'm the presenter, Doug Horka, Veteran Services Officer in the town of West Boylston. Massachusetts is very veteran-centric, and this is Governor Charlie Baker signing a veteran benefit bill earlier this year. Do you want the lights down over there?
They're fine as they are.
Okay. So, Massachusetts Veterans Benefits. Great state of Massachusetts. This state has been providing benefits to veterans since the conclusion of the Civil War. That's 1865. The program was originally just for the Civil War veterans, but now it's expanded to include widows and families as well. Massachusetts law requires that every single community in the state must have a VSO, Veteran Services Officer. I'm trying to remember, I think there are 361 cities and towns in Massachusetts, so every single one must have a VSO. Programs are provided through the Department of Veteran Services, which is a part of the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. Right now, we, the VSOs of the state, are trying to get the Secretary of Veteran Services elevated to a full cabinet position and not just be subordinate to Health and Human Services. Veteran Services Officers. We are beholden to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Department of Veteran Services, and in my case, the town of West Boylston. This is a picture of Francisco Urania, who's the Secretary of Veteran Services for the state of Massachusetts. And some other guy, and a taller guy with a shiny necktie. Here in Massachusetts, we have people like me, bald old men, and we have pretty young women that are VSOs. We're charged with providing or determining eligibility for medical and compensable benefits. That means benefits you can get paid for, and then we're supposed to help with the preparation and submission of these requests. State benefits and the VA, federal benefits we discussed last week. Also, we help recover and replace lost service records and missing medals. What are VSO's responsibilities? First of all, enroll a widow or a family or a veteran. Oh, stop it. Enroll the members of the veteran's family and or widow for state and federal benefits if they're eligible, and then assist with the preparation and submission of benefit requests. We provide housing assistance, job placement assistance, coordinate care with other social service providers, assist with funeral and burial wishes and the markers, ensure that veterans' graves are decorated each Memorial Day, coordinate Memorial Day and Veterans Day remembrances, provide advice regarding property tax and motor vehicle abatement options, and finally, assist with veteran bonus disbursements. I've got a handout when we're done.
Thank you.
Massachusetts veteran benefits are generally income sensitive. Those that are referred to as Chapter 115 benefits, meaning their veterans and or families are eligible for them if they meet certain income guidelines. The benefits can include cash, reimbursement of out-of-pocket or co-pay expenses, reimbursement of medical insurance premiums, and or Medicare B deductions for those that are over age 65, assistance with heating fuels, gas or oil, and there are assistance options for dental, optical, hearing aid, acupuncture, and chiropractic reimbursement. But all of these must be administered by the community in which the veteran lives. We talked about federal benefits last time. They can be administered from anywhere. The Massachusetts benefits must be administered by the community in which the veteran lives. Chapter 115 benefits are provided tax-free. That is, the income does not have to be reported to either state or federal taxing authorities, and Chapter 115 income does not have to be calculated as income for those that have mass health. The veteran must be honorably discharged or at least have a general discharge under honorable conditions to qualify. We'll talk about some of the other programs. The Welcome Home Bonus. These are tax-free payments for the first overseas or combat tour and for subsequent tours thereafter. First tour, the state will pay $1,000 and it's tax-free.
Question.
Yes,
Who does that come from, and how do you acquire that?
that comes from the Department of Revenue in the state of Massachusetts, and you apply for it, preferably through a veteran services officer for the community in which you live. It'll take about a week to process it.
If that never happened, is that a retro thing?
As long as you can prove you've got the dates for those tours, yes. I did a Vietnam vet recently. That's 50 years ago. So yes, it can work retro.
So City Hall would be where I'd have to go?
No. Go to your VSO in your town, tell them you want to apply for the Welcome Home Bonus, him or her, and it's a Mass Department of Revenue form. And that is sent to Boston, actually to Washington Street. So it's $1,000 for the first tour and $500 for each subsequent tour. That can include places like Korea and Japan, and doesn't have to be combat, the subsequent tours. Just has to be overseas.
So Macedonia, Kosovo.
I'll have to look on those two.
Okay.
Yeah, the vet must apply for this. As you've learned, it's not automatic. The veteran has to have been a resident of Massachusetts for at least 6 months prior to that enlistment and deployment.
When did that take effect?
I qualified for one when I returned from Vietnam. So, actually, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and all of the other skirmishes and actual wars since Panama, all of them. The vet has to be honorably discharged in order to qualify. Or if he or she is still active duty, we can put him in. This is on the handout.
Oh, thank you.
As I said, vet must be honorably discharged. I was looking around on the web and I found this, honorable discharge from the United States military. If any of you listening to this broadcast have an example of that, you've been victimized by a phony discharge. What else does Massachusetts have? Well, during a deployment, the veteran can be temporarily deferred from paying the income taxes. The income taxes are not forgiven. Filing can be deferred. For 100% disabled vets, and that can be physical or mental disabilities or combinations thereof, they're eligible for a tax-free state annuity, which pays two $1,000 cash benefits. That too is tax-free money. There's some registry of motor vehicle options for Massachusetts veterans. Special license plates, disabled license plates, exemption from excise registration and driver's license fees, and exemption from paying sales tax. Now, the exemptions from the last four that I read there, they are only under certain conditions. By and large, the veteran must be at least 60% disabled and have lost either a limb or an eye. I'm not sure I want blind veterans driving, but that's me. In this state, will assist with burial assistance. It's not a lot of money, but it's an assistance, and will help replace military records and awards and decorations. By military records, well, I'll talk about it later. Massachusetts, more than most other states, does have special military and veteran license plates. Plates recognizing the award of certain medals, and I'll get to that in a minute. The medals for valor are offered with no annual registration fee. Other veteran-type plates do have an annual registration fee. The disabled vet plate, as I said, the vet has to be 60% disabled, and that's as declared by the VA. And you need medical certification. Exemptions from excise, registration, driver's license fees, and sales tax. You have to qualify for a disabled vet plate and, unfortunately, be missing a limb. These plates do not have any annual registration fee. There are, I believe, 2 living Medal of Honor, potential Medal of Honor recipients in this state. I've never seen the Medal of Honor plate. Silver Star, Distinguished Flying Cross, Bronze Star, and Legion of Valor. Now that's referred to as a service cross from each of the different services. Navy Cross, Army Cross, Air Force Cross. I don't understand why Gold Star, former POWs, Purple Heart, why they are required to be paid for each year. But the next time the government calls me and asks will be the first time they call me and ask. And of course, the ordinary veteran plate. All of the money that is generated through the sale of these plates supports the 2 veterans' homes in Massachusetts, one in Chelsea and one in Holyoke. Yeah, the disabled veteran plate requires that the vet be at least 60% disabled as declared by the VA, and it requires a medical sign-off. In addition to being 60% disabled or greater, you've got to get a doctor to certify that that is indeed the case. I believe it principally involves either blindness or the inability to walk 200 yards without assistance. Oh yeah, the Mass Veteran Plate. That's the way it's issued, with just a flag on the left center. You could spruce it up by choice by having a branch of service decal and a specific wartime decal if appropriate. That information would be taken from the veteran's DD-214. And as an aside, I believe those are the also the welcome home benefits as well. Replacement of military records and medals. I can arrange to get, or any VSO in the state can arrange to get your DD-214 replaced and/or your entire medical jacket. DD 214 takes about 6 or 8 weeks if it can't be done immediately from Massachusetts. If you want the whole file, it takes about 8 months. If you're a career person, it can take even longer because the file may be enormous. That has to come out of the National Military Archives in St. Louis. Military medals are ones as shown on the DD 214, and they can be replaced once for free. It's assumed you were issued medals at one time, and over the years they've gotten lost. Or you can purchase them from the commercial market. It's not against the law to purchase them up to but not including the Medal of Honor. It's against the law to sell that. These are the two most common medals I get requests for, the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. This just tickled me. I was looking up, trying to get some information on DD 214, so I found this one. That's kind of hard to read. Let's do it this way. Found Elvis Presley's DD 214. That's not Massachusetts. He was Memphis, Tennessee, but I just thought it was interesting. Property tax exemptions. This is also unique to Massachusetts. For a veteran who has at least a 10% disability and is a homeowner, there's a $400 per year exemption from the property taxes. Typically, that's taken in quarters 3 and 4 of the fiscal year. So that would be the January, February, March, and the April, May, June quarters. I'm not going to insult you by reading all the others, but someone who is 100% disabled, where are we here? Yeah, veterans who have a service-connected 100% disability, Clause 22E, that's $1,000 per year exemption. If you live in the city of Worcester, that's $2,000 per year. It's called local option. Each community must offer at least that, but they can offer more than that if they choose. If a veteran is disabled and dies of one of his or her disabilities, and is married, the widow is exempted from paying property tax as long as the widow or the surviving spouse lives in that property in Massachusetts for the rest of his or her life. If the widow moves from town A to town B, as long as he or she stays in Massachusetts, most communities will waive the 5-year rule and say, okay, if you were earning it in West Boylston, now that you're in someplace else, Shrewsbury, we'll agree to it. There's some other statutory exemptions. I'm going to give them to you as part of the handout. They are relative to veterans, but I don't think it's exciting viewing. I'll leave them up here for a moment. This one, what is it, 17D, offers $313 a year and a number of qualifiers in order to be part of this. What is this, 37A? This has to do with blind. That bothers me if a blind recipient is listed on a vehicle registration. But that just means they own it, they're not necessarily driving it. Certain seniors clauses, under certain conditions, you can be exempted from completely from paying property tax. Another one, this is up to $1,000 a year. There are income requirements, minimum and maximum. Once you've earned a statutory exemption, you'll be given notification each year and given an opportunity to renew it. It doesn't renew automatically, but it just usually just means a phone call, I'd like to renew it. Another option for Mass veterans is civil service and veterans preference. Veterans preference is kind of a reverse discrimination favorable to veterans in civil service exams, as long as they score 70% or higher. If they do so, they go to the top of the exam list, with disabled veterans going even a higher priority. These are state civil service positions. If they apply for promotion, they automatically get 2 additional points added to their score. If there's no exam, they're entitled to veterans preference and accept a provisional appointment. If the position is in the labor force, the vet doesn't have to take an exam and is placed at the top of the selection list. So, in Massachusetts, the residents of this state are fortunate to have access to benefits in addition to those provided by the VA. They can include quality of life improvements, access to trained VSOs who can assist with both state and federal claims, tax-free cash assistance, welcome home bonuses, special motor vehicle taxes and property tax treatments, housing and employment assistance, advocacy services for veterans in special circumstances. Massachusetts cares for and about its veterans. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions, and are there some other topics you'd like to hear me discuss?